get this connection going.
Hello.
Whoa, your background's sick.
Thanks. It's my tattoo area. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I was turning on my volume because I couldn't hear
Okay, cool.
well. So what's up, man? How's it going? Nice finally.
Going good.
Meet you. What is the painting behind you
today? What's that?
What's the painting behind you?
This is a painting that I did many, many years ago.
Many moons ago?
Yeah, 2000.
Oh.
It's an oldie but goodie, so I keep it behind me.
So people who are coming in as well, if you have any questions, line them up.
Am I like the only non-Ink Master interview that you've had so far?
Yeah, so far you're the first, but I have an Ink Master questions in there for you.
Oh, okay. I will not be on Ink Master.
First thing before I do mine, because somebody already asked a question, they want to know how long did it take to do that painting behind you?
I don't know. I did it in 2000, probably about a month or two of just picking away.
That's what's up. A lot of when I used to paint, I was too impatient. I could not take a month to.
Yeah, I would do it in between tattoos and stuff like that. I find that I don't really especially nowadays. I don't do much art when I'm home. Like I do art all day, so when I get home, I'm just kind of drained on it. But this one originally was acrylic, and then I got a really good photo of it recently in the past like 5 years, and then did some Photoshop trickery to it. So I updated it a little bit and had it printed.
So there's prints of that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So for everybody who's coming in or doesn't know, there's Anthony. He owns. Is it Ascension Tattoo?
Yep. Ascension Tattoo in Orlando.
So for the people who don't know, because I've been doing Ink Master, but I also with artists that I respect and want to learn more about. Reason why the Ink Master because it draws people in, and then I can bring in the artists that I really enjoy to get more light shined on them.
Well, I'm glad that I could be one of those.
So for everybody doesn't know, what style of like genre tattooing do you do or enjoy doing?
Mostly like illustrative, comic book style stuff. I call it illustrative realism. So it's like not photorealism or comic book realism. And I tend to do a lot of Eastern, Asian style stuff, whether it's Hindu or Japanese or Chinese art. And
yeah,
then,
I see
or those concepts.
Styles within your stuff. Like when you go to your bio, it's like everything you put, like illustrate, like every style is like a mashup of what you do, which is cool.
Yeah.
I
like to make up my own words for things. Lately I've been kind of breaking into the biomech scene, doing a lot more of that in my own style, and I like to make up words, so I call it technomech and New Eastern and illustrative realism.
Yeah, I saw the the New Eastern. It's like when I saw the New Eastern, I thought like Doctor Strange when he went to that type of. I'm a big if I was a tattoo, which I was going to when I speak, I was gonna become a tattoo artist, but I gained a twitch while I got older, so I learned that if I tattoo in twitch, it's not gonna work.
A hand thing?
What?
A hand twitch?
No, like my body, like it twitches. So if you'll see, if I tattoo somebody and then my body twitches, I'm gonna be like.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there's a lot of guys that have
comic
stuff
is
like that.
It's really I'm influenced by it as well. So on to the next one. Oh, let me go because someone did ask a question for you. I'm trying to get more interactive. Purple Heart 911 says, how did you start tattooing?
How did I start tattooing? The wrong way, at the kitchen table.
What, say it again?
I did it the wrong way at the kitchen table. I didn't have an apprenticeship or anything like that. So
under the table.
On the table, the kitchen table.
Oh, on the kitchen. Oh, on the kitchen. Oh.
Not in a shop. I wasted a lot of years just kind of fucking around and thinking that I didn't need to learn anything from from the elder statesman, or I kind of was just doing it originally, like just to make extra money while I was trying to break into comic books. Really, like that's what I really wanted to do was comic book art, and then I just realized that tattooing gave me way more freedom to, like I don't like deadlines or having to. I mean, I draw what other people want as far as tattoos go, but I wouldn't want to draw somebody else's stories, like in the comic book way. I thought I would just be doing my own stories and my own characters.
Have you created your own comic, like because you were to do it, or do you have like a side project doing it, or
I thought about it for a while, but it's too much multitasking to try and get that out there. A lot of years ago, I published a kind of an illustrated novel. It's kind of like a comic book, a graphic novel called The Isness of Now, which is kind of like a illustrated Eastern spirituality, kind of Buddhism, Hinduism story. So I was like really hardcore into that whole New Age stuff.
When I look at your style, I mean, you've probably seen the movie, but I think it's called, it's Coming to the West. It's the story about what it's Monkey King.
Yeah.
And it shows like all the different
Journey to the West.
That reminds me of. I forgot what it's called, but I know you know what I'm talking about.
Journey to the West.
Journey to the West. Yeah, I love that movie. When I see it, I see a lot of like that influence within the work, which is cool because the match with me in general, I love the mashup style because it shows that a lot of your influences you don't put into one category. You try to mix it so it's your own work.
Yeah, I've tried to not be like I follow a lot of artists and I'm a huge fan of tons of tattoo artists, but I really over the years have tried to not be too influenced by any particular tattoo artist. And like when I look for reference or art to be inspired by for a particular tattoo, it's usually I'm looking at like concept art for video games or comic book stuff. Like I don't want to be tainted by what other tattoo artists are doing. There's things that I picked up here and there over the years, but
so
I don't want to.
Tattoo artists that influence, I don't say influence, but like you look up to, or you kind of like got like your, I mean, not now because you're more developed now, but when you were first starting, who were your influences when you first started tattooing? Anybody tuning in, you can ask Ann a question, just throw it in the comments and we'll read it right after.
When I first started like really tattooing out of a tattoo shop, I've been tattooing since like officially tattooing in shops since '97, and
it's a long time.
However many years that is. I don't do math. I don't do it.
I don't do math.
But I was basically like a new school artist. Like I did a lot of cartoony kind of new school stuff. But like as far back, like Frank Lee was definitely one of my earlier new school artists that I was like really tried to emulate a little bit. Even like I worked with one of them, Jimmy Litwalk.
You worked with me before you owned, like you worked for Jimmy before you did like.
No. He works with me now.
No, I know, because I know Jimmy works for you. But
back then I was always looking at all his stuff and a lot of the new school guys. More so in like. What was that?
How long have you had Ascension Tattoo for?
Probably about 12 years. I used to own, with a partner, I used to own 3 shops out in San Diego. I lived out there for 6 years. After I lived in Fort Lauderdale for a couple of years and started really working in a tattoo shop down there, and then moved to San Diego with a buddy of mine, and we opened up, eventually in 6 years it turned into 3 studios, and then I just kind of got tired of it out there, so I wanted to do my own thing and started Ascension.
So are the shops that you still owned or co-owned, are they still out there, or are they just like
Now it's been consolidated into one location, Funhouse Tattoo in San Diego.
Oh, nice. I'm from Fort Lauderdale. But when you probably, I'm 26, so when you probably did it, I mean, if it was for like 10 years ago?
No. Oh, 90, 97, 98, 99, and then in 2000 we were in San Diego.
Damn, that's awesome.
Yeah, I worked in Pompton at the Funhouse Tattoo in Pompano.
Oh, you worked out there because there's a fun house down here.
Yeah, we went out to do our own thing out there, and we had a different name picked out, and then the owner of that shop was like, "Oh, you should just be Funhouse West Coast." And cool.
Yeah, because Funhouse is still going on down here in Pompano.
Yeah, yeah, different owners now, and then we weren't really like business associated as far as like the shops in San Diego.
I heard a lot of stories about Funhouse. Never been to Funhouse.
Yeah, it was some wild times, but at least back then it was. I don't know what they're all about now.
So I wanted to ask before I get into something like the Ink Master questions that I had lined up for you. So Ascension, I understand like my own meaning behind Ascension, but what was your meaning behind of naming your shop Ascension?
Well, like I still am into like spirituality and New Age kind of.
It was about like uplifting and.
Yeah, like it's definitely not from a a lot of times Ascension is more of like a Christian concept. I was always kind of looking at it from more of like the Buddhism, Hinduism side of things. But it really, it's kind of like part of a philosophy that I have tried to carry throughout most aspects of my life, more so successfully with my art, is that to just, like to ascend, to just keep climbing the ladder and keep getting better, at least trying to get better. Like every tattoo that I do, I try to approach it as like this is going to be the best tattoo that I do until the next one. It doesn't always work, but it's a good way to go about it instead of just thinking like, I'm great, I'm good now, like there's nothing else I need to learn. So it's just about just constantly just trying to excel and get better.
So is there a favorite piece that you have that you've done like that you're basically always trying to outdo yourself? Is there like
like to say like I do a fuck ton of koi fish or dragons or stuff like that, and so if I do a koi fish, I'm gonna try and make this koi fish somehow better and different than the last one, which is hard to do because you can only do so much with a koi fish.
Yeah.
But try to do different tricks with scales or lighting, but just try to make like my line works. I'm gonna try to make my line work better than the other line work that I did. I'm gonna try and color this in better than the last time I did it. So just with everything, trying to make it get better.
Sucks for the first person who got the koi fish. They're this, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. The first tattoos that we thought it would be easy to learn how to tattoo at the kitchen table doing tribals. So I got a lot of really shitty tribals out there that there's no way I'm going to be able to cover up because they're just big and scarry and gross.
Yeah,
I don't do cover-ups anyway. So. I got a lot of friends that I tattooed years ago. They're like, "Oh, you're good now. Now you can cover this crap up." And I'm like, "Nope, I don't do cover-ups."
Why? I mean, because is there any reason behind that? You just don't want to cover somebody else's work, or?
No, I don't really care too much about that. I don't. Some people just have a mind for it, and I've avoided doing cover. I've done a bunch of cover-ups in the past, and I always tend to. Some people are just better at it. Their brains work better at it, or whatever. Like I don't like the idea that old tattoo is still going to show through a little bit. And
yeah.
same thing with like fixing up. So like someone's got a tattoo that's just an outline and they want it colored in. I'm still stuck with the constraints of trying to work with somebody else's like they obviously want to get it fixed up or covered up because they don't like it. So, I gotta work with that. Like and being a shop owner, I am afforded the ability to to do what I want to do, and to, there's plenty of guys here that do cover-ups, and it blows my mind the shit that they can cover up. Like I can't even wrap my head around how they figured out how to make that work, and I want to. I like new skin.
Yeah, I have a friend. I have a cover up on my chest, like a big cover up. Basically bad choices I made when I was young, when I was like 16, getting I got a tattoo on accident. I got my first one was my mom's name when I was, I think, 15 or 16. My friend took me to a house, like I did it in his house, and then it literally was like I tattoo that I stuff on my chest and like bad stuff. So I covered it. He did it, when it's finished. If I send you pictures after, you'd be like, how the fuck did he just do that?
Yeah, that's one of these guys, a guy Neil that works here. He does a lot of cover-ups, and I'm blown away about how you can't see that tattoo. I'm like, I know if I did it, you're gonna see it, or you're gonna see the scar through it or something. And I just
because scar tissue, and it hurts a lot too, because I had scar tissue, and from someone being tattooed with scar tissue, that shit hurts like triple the time if it was new skin. And then you have to go back into the skin to make sure that it's actually saturated. And so I agree with you with cover-ups. My friend who did it, he got so good that everybody went for cover-ups, and he was like, damn, like he wasn't knocking it because it was money and it was his name, but it was also like that's what he started getting known for, was just cover-ups. I totally understand.
Once you get known for something, it's hard to turn down that influx of people that want you. They want to give you money and they trust you to do the work, and it's hard to turn that away. It's like sometimes I do some tattoos on friends or family that I wouldn't normally take on, and I'm like, don't tell anybody that I did it. Everyone's gonna ask me for tribal now.
It's anonymous. So, again, everybody's coming in. If you want to ask questions in general for your tattoo artist, Anne's been doing this for probably as long as I've been alive.
How old are you?
Questions. I know Purple Heart, she's a cool girl. I've been talking to her. She's actually apprenticing under Shanghai Kate, one of the first female people. And I'm glad that she's asking questions, because it shows that this is an apprentice who really wants to learn all around. She said, how long took you to start doing only in just your style?
Not really too long. Because when I first started working in a tattoo shop, it was a heavy flash shop. Like, there was tattoo flash on every wall in the place, and most of the time, most of the guys would just pick it and stick it and do it, and I was, I was drawing my own flash and stuff like that, so I would just, oh, you want that one? Oh, well, let me redesign it for you. Let me change it up. So I was always pretty much doing my own art.
You would tell them, I can make this better, or make this not just a basic flash on the wall.
Yeah, make it different. So it's not something that somebody else out there in the world has. And you can't help once you post something. I mean, back then we didn't have Instagram, so it's
your piece was it was like word of mouth. So your piece had to really, I mean, it still stands for something, but your piece really had to stand for something, because there wasn't social media to brand yourself. Like, that too alone was traveling.
It was really hard for somebody to copy it, where now someone can take a picture off of Instagram. And I had somebody do that recently with a biomech piece that I designed, and it was really crazy too, because he even he figured out what was going on with the wrap around the arm. It wasn't good by any means, but it's kind of flattering, but not really.
I don't see a lot of people, which is cool, because I don't see a lot of people who specialize in biomech, because I think biomech is becoming more of a I think biomech is going to be what New School did. How New School people really didn't like it and it blew up. I think biomech is going to be the same way. Because not a lot of people truly
it's
understand.
been blowing up, and there's a lot of really awesome biomech artists out there, especially like with Instagram being able to just instantly see new stuff from all around the world. If you look at biomech_collective, like they post the best of the best stuff. Guy Aitchison and Kurt Weindich run that page, and it's nothing but amazing biomech stuff. But it's such an abstract style.
It is. That's what I'm saying.
It's really
super
hard
cool
to
that you do it because you have to understand like the flow.
Yeah, and it's hard to. It is kind of hard to break into in a way, and to look different. It's hard to, like, there's, you see the same features repeated in a lot of people's art. So what I've tried to do is find a way to make my stuff different. It's there's a lot of guys that I follow that I see that they do mostly, almost exclusively biomech, and I don't see how, or maybe that's just all they're posting. Where like, at least I'm able to, like I can kind of fall back on doing all the other stuff that I do. Like I do all three of my genres pretty evenly right now.
Shout out to Jimmy for joining in right now while you're speaking.
Jimmy.
Which really gives me to a good segue with Jimmy. Really, it was my next question, so it's perfect timing he joined. All right, so Jimmy's on Ink Master. It blows up, and he does a fucking great job. I wasn't the biggest, even though I love the part. But when Jimmy came on and did his shit, I new school opened like to me. And so, in being on the show, how did the shop change?
What was that?
How did the shop change since Jimmy was on Ink Master? Because I'm assuming, I would assume the exposure of the shop really went into like.
It didn't really change that much.
Really?
No, we've been pretty busy. It's like he started working here after he was on the first season, we don't have people breaking down the door to get photos and ooh, Jimmy's here, he's we're just artists doing our thing.
No, because because Ink Master, the way it has now, I believe it's 10th season, and now like these artists are becoming like, I guess in a way famous, not like or like see. So I know a lot of this. And Christian, he was saying so like I was thinking since he's in the shop that the shop will get a lot of like recognition, but a lot of
I guess we kind of do. I definitely noticed that. There's times when like we would go out and about, and people that probably don't even have any tattoos are stopping in to get photos with them, and hey, come in and get tattoos.
You have any tattoos? Nah.
Yeah.
I'm get tattoos. But I like it. So have you ever, or has Ink Master ever reached out to you, or have you reached out to them, or are you just like not like?
I've entertained the idea of it every season, and I think last year and this year I had, I got the email, but a lot of people get the email.
So how does that work for because you saying these things? So if you could break it down for the people who, I'm curious because they select artists. Do they email artists they interview you?
I have no idea. A lot of times I think past artists can kind of recommend people to the producers or whatnot. But I've only just got like, hey, we're Ink Masters doing tryouts. Come check us out. And I've really thought about it a lot, but then at the same time, I just don't think I could hang with it. Like I get bad anxiety, and like I just if it was just like come here without any bullshit and without any drama and just do the best tattoo that you can do, and we'll judge it on a certain basis, like I feel like there's especially from knowing a lot of people that have been on it. I hear, you hear a lot of stuff about how things are just weird and overly produced, and then like, oh, let's see what you can, you know, carve with a chainsaw out of ice. Like what is that? And every season they have to keep upping the ante on the crazy parts of it, and like, this is how, making easier ways to fuck people over and stuff, and it's too much drama that, like.
I'm talking to other artists too, and like for people who really don't know, behind the scenes, it is a lot more intense. Like, from what I've been hearing and talking to, that I've been reaching out and speaking to a lot of the people who've been on the show, and like seeing on TV and then hearing afterwards, it's like shit.
Yeah.
Even if I was, because it would be so cool to see anybody who's been on the show with like your type of style. That's why I was curious, because it would be cool to see your brand of your art be on the show. Saying it's life. Are we even in life? Is this, or is life happening around us?
Yeah. So it's, like I've even thought, like, originally I was like, even if you just get on there and you get kicked off the first episode, it could be worth it, because there's going to be some people that like you, and but then at the same time, like, like, I don't know how I would handle people like thinking they know who I am, or thinking they know what I'm about, just because they saw me on a couple snippets on TV or something, or walking around, and people like, let me take a picture with you. Like, why do you want a picture with me? Like, it's just weird to me. Like, part of my ego wants that, but a stronger part of my ego is like, nah, it's not for me.
No. Like, even for like, I've wanted to be a canvas, but the thing is like, I would always go with a good design, but I'm like, are they gonna give me an artist that it's gonna fuck?
Yeah, you never know.
That's what I'm saying. So like, I've always wanted to be a canvas, but I'm like, I don't want to be that person that, I would never come in with the stupidity or the stuff that some of these people come on with, but I wouldn't also want to have something that's so good that they're gonna pick a weak artist to try to attempt.
Yeah.
Which is one thing I don't. It's a strategy, which the whole Ink Redemption to me is kind of dumb, because these artists come in with the dumbest ideas, and they're expecting in 6 hours to get that.
Yeah, and then they come on and yell at you like, "You motherfucker! You fucked my tattoo up!" Like, you got a free tattoo. If you knew what you were doing, and then you're gonna bark at somebody on TV to get your fucking extra 10 minutes of fame.
Like, I'll never forget season 2, Sarah Miller, her first challenge. The guy wanted the New York Bridge, or is it the New York or California Bridge or whatever? Like, the skyline made out of bacon and sausage.
I remember that. Yeah.
Like, who comes in? Where do you get this idea from? Like, I just want the skyline made out of bacon, sausage, and meat. People
want some pretty crazy things in general,
What's the craziest thing someone's come to you for?
I don't know. Like, I'm probably one of the weirdest. I don't really get too much weird shit these days, but one thing I remember explicitly was years ago when I was kind of a newbie. This big fat kid came in, and he wanted a life-size peanut M&M on his side, but like here on his side, and it just wound up in his fat rolls, and I'm like, dude, that's not a good idea. And then I did it anyway, and then I was kind of like what, like, why are you getting this? And he kind of was weirded out, and he was just like, it's a private story. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then like it came back like a private story. Like, I don't know, maybe he was with his partner and got a peanut fell into his fat roll. Got a peanut M&M stuck in his fucking fat rolls or something. But and then he came in like a month later, and it was just gross looking, and he was like, oh, I need this fixed up. And I'm like, it's because you got sweaty skin rubbing on it all day long, like. Yeah. Yes. No, another time I had this, like, I don't really get too many crazy ideas, but one horror story of just grossness was one time I was working all by myself in a shop in Fort Lauderdale. It was St. Patrick's Day, and this drunk lady came in and wanted a 4-leaf clover on her pelvis, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll do it, and then I starting to set up, I turn around, and she's just wearing like bicycle shorts. She just, boom, drop trow, totally naked standing there, and I was like, oh, no, we're not even ready yet, and you don't have to get that naked. And then
You don't gotta get that naked.
yeah, and then I'm tattooing her, and she just reeked. Like every time I had to dip into the ink, like I put her super far away from my table so that like whenever I dipped into my ink,
You should have been like
I would hold my breath on the way over and do some lines, and then come back over here and take a breathe out. So clean up. Clean up.
Well,
You're getting tattooed. Wash your feet. Wash your ass.
For people who never been in South Florida, you'll find the weirdest characters, especially that like Fort Lauderdale is like a place of tourists. You're gonna find the weirdest people to come in.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that, like being in the shop before. I've seen some weird crap myself. So what I'm asking is, you've been in the industry for a long time. With the show, how do you feel the industry changed for a picture show? So you feel as it takes more people to want to come back to artists for the you feel it's pretty good because I hear, like for example, it's really sad to me. Dave Steveno is like one of my favorite artists. That just touched art.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Post where like he doesn't really want to tattoo much anymore, just because of how the industry is with Ink Master. And so I'm just curious about you. How do you feel the industry has changed from like just all around the
I mean, it was not even that show. I mean, it kind of started with the Miami Inks and the LA Inks and stuff like that years ago, and people bitched about those shows then. I mean, there's it's a double-edged sword. There's positives and negatives to all things, and even the TV shows. And I kind of see I tend to look at more of the positive side of it because, like Miami Ink in particular, everybody came on that show with this tale of woe, and this is why I want this tattoo. Oh,
yeah,
and, and but it got people. It got the regular person interested in tattoos more. It got the regular person who only saw their uncle's old school anchor or their Navy tattoo that they got 30 years ago, and they actually started seeing really good work in the mainstream. And same thing with Ink Master now. Like there's people that would watch that would never thought about getting a tattoo, and then they'll watch it and be like, or maybe they thought about getting a tattoo like this big, but now they're seeing like big pieces and seeing pieces that people are getting for all kinds of meaningful reasons. So it's helped. I think it's helped the industry in a way that it's creating more canvases and more clients.
That's a pretty good way to think about it.
At the same time, it's also creating more tattoo artists and people that are just like, oh, I'm an artist, I could do this too. And like, I mean, that's how I thought when I got into it, and there wasn't no TV shows then. So I mean, who am I to judge why somebody wants to get into the industry? It seems like there's just a lot more business, but there's a lot more artists, and eventually one is gonna get off balance. There's gonna be too many tattoo artists and not enough people getting tattoos. Because the tattoo fad or fads can change, and eventually something could happen where people are just like, yeah, that was a 2000s thing, or like nobody gets tattooed anymore. And then what are all these artists gonna do?
When the robots take over,
paint stuff. That's why I became a tattoo artist. I didn't want to be a starving artist. I wanted to try and sell a canvas once every couple of months.
Have you been watching this season?
Yeah.
So
I know a couple of guys are on it, so it's every season I've kind of known or was friendly with a couple people that are on it, and every year they get a better crop of artists. Like this season,
Oh
particularly,
yeah.
they're like especially
How do you
on Team
how do you feel about
DJ
Matt?
is
How do you feel about him?
full of fucking powerhouses. Like they're all dope artists. You know,
From
but then it's
have you
like same thing. There's like I try not to be overly critical about people's art because it is subjective, and that's one of the weird things about Ink Master. But you know, to like who are any of them to judge your artwork because it's subjective. There are some things that you could really fuck up, and I look at like some of like the early bunches. It seems like some of the people that they put on there are kind of like they're cannon fodder. Like they're just on there so that they don't take Juan Salgado or Josh Payne off the show early. You know,
Oh
like
yeah, the people that you
like
can
there's
already
some people
call
that just
like,
they just shouldn't like you've been tattooing for 2 years it seems, you know, or like there's some guys that have been tattooing for 2 or 3 years that are amazing. But then you see some other stuff where it's just like how is that person on here to begin with? You know, like
I think for me personally, I think it's one that you need to have some weak people. I think there's gonna be some drama that has to be on the show.
yeah,
I
for
think
a lot of it they bring certain people on for their character. They bring certain people on for the drama. They bring certain people on for the look. Then there's people that they bring on that are just we need to get rid of some people.
we
You know, like we don't want to lose any of the good guys yet. We want them to
like
be
for
in the
this
end.
past episode, Matt Buck was kicked off, which really pissed me off. I was in I mean you saw I was in his shop literally last
Yeah.
week. If you ever been in his shop in New York, no Idols,
No.
the paintings and the stuff that he does, and DJ's team, he was the only person drawing all the time.
Yeah, and he was amazing. That tattoo was really, really good. Like it was washed out. But that was her skin. It was her. She was ashy looking. It was like it was.
He could have went back into it.
I mean, even so, like as her complexion and her skin type, it would have been. It would still look like that. You know, you're seeing a tattoo through the filter of layers of skin, but structurally, those flower outlines were great. The snake, the head, the texture, the pattern, everything about that snake. If that was on albino skin, that would have been a winner. But you know, it's the way it is. Sometimes the judges do. I mean, sometimes those judges will keep people on who don't even follow the challenge. Like there's times I've been pissed off. I'm like, that guy didn't even follow the challenge, but then they're going to kick somebody else off. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. There might be favoritism in there somewhere.
Like with Lil D. Lil D's probably one of the nicest people I've seen on the show. Like super genuine nice guy. But
I've met him before. He's a really cool guy.
Lil D's tattoo, you can't fix up or change it. It is what it is. Matt's tattoo, you can go back into it.
Those judges, Oliver in particular, have a hard-on for traditional, and it doesn't matter. The traditional guy is always gonna like be on top of anybody else. They prove it every year, every season they prove that shit. It's
like for example, who I forgot his name because I was pissed off that he won. When he won I think it was against when Chris Blinston lost against I forgot who won. I see his face. I can't think of his name. You remember the season where do you know the artist Chris Blinston?
Yeah.
You remember when he was in the finals?
Very well.
He did that whole back piece with the girl on the road. It was like a hot rod.
Oh, the finale one.
Yeah,
his tattoo was amazing.
I can't remember his name.
It had every little thing in it too. He had like textures, like.
And then he lost to that traditional piece that was so like, it wasn't bad.
No, yeah. I forgot what that traditional one was, but I remember that as a composition, it was really impressive. But if you looked at every individual element in there, it was okay traditional, you know. And it's like, you know,
they're like.
I'm not a judge though. I got no say, but you know.
I think honestly, Dave.
Chris showed that if he put every everything from every challenge into that piece. The traditional one that won was just a large traditional tattoo.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
and people aren't in here like saying Jimmy. Anyway, Jimmy's season, Jimmy was in a hard top 3 too. I mean, honestly, if you don't win, as long as you execute it, I mean, Jimmy's still winning right now. Like, really, if you don't win Ink Master and you do the way like that Jimmy's done, you're still winning. I
he's
mean,
been on there a couple times since then too.
yeah,
I think he's like the one artist that's been a reoccurring artist. Like, there's a couple guys that have had on there multiple times, like Christian, Clean Rock, but yeah, I think with all the redemptions and all the other stuff, like he's been on there like freaking 30 times, and there hasn't even been 30 shows. Hi, Johnny. This is Johnny Barrios.
Hey, what's up?
About the locals forever, that's it.
What I wanted to ask you too, because I saw you did the Daruma Sculpture. How long have you been doing sculpting for?
On and off for a lot of years. I used to mess with clay a lot when I was younger, and then I haven't done anything like that in probably like 5 or 6 years, and I was just messing around and did that. Like,
came out awesome.
The last thing like that I did, I've been doing a lot of kind of a nerd, so I've been doing a lot of like cosplay type costuming stuff, and but I think it was like 7, 8 years ago, or whenever the tsunami was in Japan, we did an art show that was for the tsunami relief. So we did a whole bunch of Hanya masks and sent them out to 50 different artists all around the country. Like Gunner was in it, Keith Caramello, like just all like 50 different tattoo artists and makeup artists, like artists in all different industries, all used the same base Hanya mask and then turned it into whatever they wanted to make it into. And
that's really
raised
cool.
Raised a bunch of money for the Red Cross for tsunami relief.
That's such a cool thing to know that you did that in general, that you're giving back and then you're also doing with your people that you knew, because that's a really cool way to make different styles and come together, kind of like a unity thing.
Yeah, even here locally, we've tried to do a lot of like various fundraising things. Like after the Pulse shooting here, we did a pretty big fundraiser, and we got another thing coming up in June, which will the specifics of it will be announced in April. It's gonna be pretty big and pretty awesome.
That is.
But it's kind of another way to give back to the community, especially here in Orlando in the wake of the anniversary of the whole Pulse thing.
I mean, that's funny is like you're a tattoo shop. People wouldn't even think like, oh, a tattoo shop's gonna. Interesting. I wouldn't have thought in general, but the fact that you did it, it shows a lot about your character and about the shop. I mean, it's an awesome thing that you did too. I mean, super respect to you, because seeing it down here in South Florida, over there, I mean, any little thing you can bring the community together, I totally respect that.
The worst shop music depends on who's playing it.
Depends on.
Yeah, it depends who's playing. This the only thing we ever fight about here is music. But thank you for saying that.
Any conventions or shows that you're doing this year?
For the past 5 years, I've done Hell City in Ohio every year, and it's pretty much the only convention that I have lined up for this year. I don't really do many conventions. Last year we did the Yalzi's Puerto Rico convention, and that was pretty awesome. And then I was so stoked on going back this year, but in December. But the damn hurricane fucked all that up. But yeah, I don't really do more guest spots all around the country. Like I traveled around Europe and Asia and did a lot of guest
guest
spots over the years. But now I got kids, so it's like kind of hard to. I have 2 5-year-olds, and it's hard for me to kind of get away, especially with owning the shop and trying to, you know, keep eyes on stuff and make sure everything's good here, and then make sure things are good at home. Like a lot of people do like the convention circuit, it seems like they do a lot of conventions, and it's just such
conventions are so boring.
It's a drain, you know, like
conventions are like
the what convention?
If you're not tattooing somebody, getting tattooed, or somehow a part of the convention,
yeah,
you're literally just walking the same
yeah.
thing over. Like when I've been to a few conventions, I'm not the biggest fan of like if I'm not getting tattooed, it's kind of like you could be there for an hour and unless you're tattooed like a competition or
there's only so much to do. That's why like Jared Morrison puts on the Hell City convention, and that one is always a spectacle. Is always you try to make like stuff going on there, you know, but still at the same time you can only walk laps around the place so many times, especially if you're not getting tattooed. But the like I'm not really that much of a convention artist to begin with. Like a lot of guys will, you know, they'll sit down, somebody will come over, and then that's another reason why Ink Master would be kind of daunting for me, because I'm so used to having like a couple weeks to a couple months to plan out my tattoo design and to get it drawn to a point where I love it. Then I show it to the client. Where if I had like I got to draw this up in a half an hour, you know, or like you draw this tonight and you're doing it for 6 hours tomorrow, like that's too much pressure. Too much pressure for me.
Yeah, I've always told people like the best of artists, like they show their worst in them on that show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's like you're putting a pressure cooker. Like some of those guys, a lot of those guys are really, really awesome, and then you see something that's not so awesome, and it's like, well, you tried. Like not every artist is one who could just whip up a design in an hour, you know, and then without that like a couple days or a couple weeks of planning, you know, like that's just like the way I'm used to doing stuff. Like
so you put a lot of thought into your tattoos, which is amazing. That
well, even just like the time it takes for me to get to the design. Like just because I can draw doesn't mean that I want to draw right now, you know. So it's I got to be in the mood, and you know. So
how booked are you? Like in general,
usually about 2, sometimes 3 months. Any more than 3 months, I'll put a halt on new consultations and have like kind of a little waiting list for another couple months, and then, you know, work it in batches where I'm working on like 20 pieces at a time, and then take new consultations. Any more than 3 months is just it's too far in advance.
So guys, if you want to get tattooed, wait, we're in February. If you want to buy the summer, you got to get now.
Yeah, because it might take me a little bit to get it drawn. But I've been this year I'm definitely trying to like hammer it down a little harder and you know, squash a little bit of my laziness, because sometimes it, you know, it's like once I start a design and start sketching it out, I'm pretty quick with it. But it honestly it takes me a little bit to get in the mood to sit in front of my art space and start designing what I need to do. And at the same time, I'm juggling my own art career with being a shop owner and a manager and a babysitter here and then a babysitter at home. Like,
you said a
whole lot of yeah.
That's freaking awesome. So I'm looking at the timer so we don't get cut off, because yesterday I wasn't paying attention to the time, and if you watched it got cut off. So is there anything that you want to share on your mind, or just want to let everybody know before we wrap up the interview?
No. No, but thanks for interviewing me and thinking about me. It's awesome.
No, I've been following a lot of different people's works. I've been following your work for a long time, especially a lot of the stuff you tattoo and art. It was a big influence on me growing up. I'm big into video games. I love comic art. A lot of Japanese and a lot of Asian styles resonate. I can't even get the word. Resonate. My wife had to correct me. I get with me. Like for like my Daruma doll is a neo-traditional mixed with that Japanese style. And then I swear I'm a ninja. I mean, I don't know why.
That was my first tattoo. My first tattoo was the kanji and said ninja.
Really?
What I'm going to be when I grow up.
Bird dog to go to Ascension, you will not regret. Yeah, I mean, Orlando's only 3 hours from where I am.
Mm-hmm.
And my best friend drives up there all the time, and I definitely want to come check out the shop for sure.
Anytime.
My cousin's getting married up there in October, so I'm gonna be in that shop sometime this year.
Cool. Oh yeah.
Well, again, man, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this for me. I sincerely appreciate it, guys. I mean, in general, he's one of the humblest, nicest people. If you want this creative artwork, and give all your social media stuff to your websites.
AscensionTattoo.com is our website, and Ascension_Tattoo is the Instagram for the shop, and then my Instagram is ant_ascension. My Facebook, where sometimes I wax political, is Ant Iannucci.
I was gonna tell her. Last thing I wanted to ask, and last thing I wanted to tell you is I like the fact that you made your tattoo name non-tattoo related, because a lot of tattoo shops will say like ink or something like tattoo, and it's just like why do you have to do it like that? So I wanted to say that in the beginning, but I totally forgot, so I just wanted to say it again. I really love that you did it from your own, like what you wanted to name it. You don't give a crap about to make it sound like tattoo.
Well, when I first opened it, it was Ascension Custom Dermographics, because I like making up new words, and but that was too long. I just cut the dermographics off and just made a tattoo.
If I were to go there, I would think I'm like at a testing place, like demographic. Pay $15 for a survey.
Yeah, in the cup too.
Before, because you probably like 5 minutes before this cuts us off. I don't, because you did ask a question. Quick advice for beginners, and then you enjoy the rest of your night.
Quick advice for beginners.
Don't do drugs.
Draw. And use reference. A lot of artists, especially like newer artists, tend to act as though like using reference is cheating. If you look at any of the say concept artists for movies or video games, stuff like that, like they're using reference for every little thing. Like if you're gonna draw any particular thing, have multiple images of inspiration around you. You know, just to, even if you're not like copying or looking at it directly, just burn it into your mind and use that reference for, like, I feel like a lot of people don't even, they use reference, but they don't really know how to interpret the reference that they're using.
Yeah.
So they just basically copy, you know, where it's tricky. It's tricky.
Basically, use it. Don't copy, but use it as a guideline to the way you want to do it.
Yep.
I believe me, the way you wording it, you're like, damn, you're trying to figure. Sometimes in here you can say it, but when you're trying to, I do the same thing. If I can say it in here, but when I try to speak it, I'm like, But I know what you meant, though. Just don't copy. Look at it, make it your own.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, when you get a tattoo, it's a part of your art, and it becomes a part of them.
I think another thing that I would suggest is that, like, a lot of times young tattoo artists will think of like a liner, a lining needle, and a shading needle, and I look at it like those are paintbrushes. Those are different paintbrush sizes and paintbrush shapes, where you can you could line with a shader. A liner and a shader are interchangeable, and it's just basically just different tip types. It's not, you shouldn't look at it as like this is only for sticking in and making a line, you know.
Limit yourself.
Yeah.
That's just great advice. I mean that's
Don't fuck anybody up. It's easy enough.
A lot of
Don't fuck
people
people
would
up.
see it as one thing.
And
Before
use
we
one
have
of
on the
these
show, what is that?
on your needles. It's a loop.
What is that?
It's a loop, magnifying glass. You have to look at your needles
Oh,
because
dope.
the naked eye cannot discern whether or not there's a tiny little ding in one of those needles. And that's a lot of the cause of a lot of skin trauma is people not just picking up a needle and thinking it's good, and then they're tearing through the skin and it has a hard heel. You gotta look. You'll be surprised how many
No,
needles
you're the first. I mean, you're the first tattooer
surprised
that
how
I've
many
seen.
needles I throw away that are prepackaged needles that are like burnt. When you look at them close up, there's a needle in there that's like burnt, broken.
You're the first tattooer that I've seen that had a magnifying glass for that purpose. Maybe
I
others.
I learned that trick a while ago. A buddy of mine,
The other
Keith
artists
Caramello,
have,
told me that one. And I
I've
was like,
never
yeah, that
seen.
makes sense.
If there's anything else, all right, man, because this thing's about to cut us off, bro. Thank you so much again. I have
Bye,
so much
guys.
to put out on YouTube. Everybody, please follow him. I'm gonna post this stuff. Everything's gonna be out there.